Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days. For today's video, this will take us to the 1st of December, can you believe? So day 10 is the very first day of December and the very first day of winter 2019-2020. So we're going to talk you through the weather patterns for the next few days and weather charts. We'll have a look at what's going on in the stratosphere and we'll have a look at Beijing Climate Centre at the end of the video. For the next 40 days, and that takes us to the end of the year, actually. So I'm going to get on with that for you very shortly. We're going to begin, however, in the tropical Atlantic, because we have got something quite unusual going on there at the moment. So at the National Hurricane Centre website, I haven't been here for a little while. Thought the season was pretty much over, but here we go. We've got Tropical Storm Sebastian in the tropical Atlantic. Quite unusual to get a tropical storm as late as the 21st of November, but Sebastian has developed, and we have got Tropical Storm Sebastian at the moment. Tropical Storm Sebastian is giving maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour and with a set pressure of 999 millibars and moving north-northeast at 8 miles per hour. Now, this tropical storm is actually forecast to develop into a Category 1 hurricane by tomorrow. So the current position of Tropical Storm Sebastian is just there, but by tomorrow we've got Hurricane Sebastian. Not in any populated area, just in the middle of a tropical Atlantic Ocean, but it is quite unusual to get a hurricane on the 22nd of November, and then this hurricane moves northeastwards towards the Azores and goes post-tropical by the time we get through to the weekend into Sunday, heading into the Azores as a post-tropical storm. But yeah, quite unusual developments in the tropical Atlantic. Of course, we will be keeping a close eye on what's happening with Sebastian in the next few days. Central England temperature is updated to the 20th of November. So we're currently sitting at 6.3, an anomaly of nearly 1 degree below average. That's provisional up to the 20th of November. So with just 10 days left of the month, we're around 1 degree below average. In fact, probably over 1 degree below average when you take into account the downwards correction that we nearly always get. We're probably sitting somewhere around 6.0 in reality. Now, the temperature is going to be getting milder over the final week of the month, so this is going to lift up. And then we're going to have a downwards correction. So it's quite difficult to judge where this is going to finish up. I think we're pitching it somewhere around 6.7 as our finishing number, possibly 6.8. So it'll lift up a bit in the next few days. Then there'll be a downwards correction probably at the end of the month. There nearly always is. So I think somewhere around sort of 6.7, that's probably where we're going to finish, which is still a little bit below average compared to 81 to 2010. Quite close to average compared to 61 to 1990. Be interested to see where we finish up, but definitely hasn't been a particularly mild month at all, and that follows on from a rather cold October. September was a little bit above average, but our last substantially above average month was actually August, which is over 1 degree above average. It's been a cooler autumn than we've had for quite a few years, I think. Developments stratosphere-wise are looking like this. So we're at meteoseal.fr. Now, I've been talking about the chance of a sudden stratospheric warming occurring sort of end of November into beginning of December. This is the latest forecast from the 6 o'clock run of the GFS. So we've got these blue and purple colours here over North Pole. Those are with cold temperatures at 10 HPA in the stratosphere. You see we've got these yellow and green colours around the edges, sort of across southern parts of Russia, for example. So this is 29th of November. Let's see what the latest GFS run does with this warming of the stratosphere. So it's still there into the early part of December, but not as intense. Not going into the level of a southern stratospheric. We're not seeing those red colours turning up, but a major warming of the stratosphere is still being forecast there for the first week of November, going to around minus 12 degrees at the warmest. So it's backed off a little bit with this latest GFS run from the idea of a sudden stratospheric warming. It is still going for a major sudden stratospheric warming, however. So I can actually show you what it was doing with the midnight run, so we can compare the two. This is the midnight GFS run. 6 o'clock run is the very latest, of course. So on the midnight run, this is what it was doing. Again, has that warming take place over Siberia through the opening days of December, and that did get to the level of a southern stratospheric warming. You see the difference with those red colours appear. When those red colours appear, that is getting to genuine southern stratospheric warming type levels. The 6 o'clock GFS run didn't go quite that warm, and so that is the difference between the two. We've got genuine southern stratospheric warming on the midnight GFS run taking place over Siberia, whereas the 6 o'clock GFS run doesn't go quite to that level. Just variations of the theme, really. And as we're talking about extended rain stuff beyond 10 days away, then obviously you're going to expect changes from run to run in terms of the exact detail, how intense this warming gets. But they're both going in that same direction anyway, which is a major warming of the stratosphere taking place over Siberia. Whether it reaches southern stratospheric warming levels and whether it penetrates into the Arctic and the North Pole, that of course is still to be revealed. I'll be keeping an eye on that over the coming days, I'm quite sure. These are the 500 millibar high anomaly flowcharts from Penn State University, how they're looking today. So we've got the ECMWF on the top, and the GFS, which we will have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. So 500 millibars is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. These are the mean flow charts for 7 to 10 days time. Takes us just to the start of December. Day 10 is the 1st of December today. So ECM has this area of below average height sinking into Scandinavia. There'll be quite cold air pushing south into the north of Europe with that. Has an area of high pressure towards Greenland, just here with above average heights, and then some low pressure down to our south-southwest, and a deep low over towards the east coast of America. Looks like the jet stream is on a rather southerly track here. We're probably on the cold side of the jet with the ECM. And looking unsettled, this area of low pressure just here will bring more rain, particularly so to England and Wales. So the storyline up to the beginning of December remains one of unsettled weather, and we see it even more on the GFS with this deep trough of below average heights, low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. The centre of the low is in the middle of the Atlantic, but it's sending plenty of energy our way with the jet stream as well. Does have some blocking high pressure up towards Greenland. There's a ridge covering much of the Mediterranean as well, so if you want an early winter holiday, that would be quite nice, and about ridge of high pressure down in the Med. But for us, it looks like the deluge goes on through the first day, I suppose, of December, with lots of low pressure still being signalled to be heading our way there from off the Atlantic Ocean. GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles look like this one at Portsmouth, down on the south coast today. This is another suggested location for this section of the video. Thank you very much to everybody who has been contacting us with their local towns and cities. You're all on the list of locations. Will take us a little time to get through everyone, but we will go through all of them as we can day by day. So big thanks to everybody. If you'd like to have your local town or city featured within this part of the video, then all you need to do is ask us either through the Gazworthies comments facility, or you can email us at gazworthies@gmail.com, or of course there's the social media accounts, Facebook and Twitter, and we're very happy to feature your local town or city within this part of the video. Don't think we can go down to village level just yet. Anyway, the red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Portsmouth, and we're very close to average still at the moment. You see how temperatures are ticking up though through the weekend and into next week, going milder. That's the reason we think that CT is going to rise from low sixes towards the mid to upper sixes by the end of the month. So it is going to be turning milder through the last week of November. Now, this is the first week of December just here. Still a lot of scatter going on. It looks like there could be some sort of cold snap, though, appearing there around the 1st of December. So the very last day of November, the very first day of December might have a little bit of a cold snap. There may be a bit of a warmer trend as we go further through the first week of December. The thick green line there is the GFS operational run, and you see that in its final stages eventually becomes just about one of the warmest ensemble members of all, so it is a little bit of an outlier. Probably not an outlier, but it's certainly at the warmest end of the range of GFS ensemble members. We do have these ones down here as well, and these of course are colder outliers. A lot of scatter there, indicating plenty of uncertainty in terms of what the temperature is doing through the final days of November and into like the first week of December. There is a lot of uncertainty there. And some of these ensemble members are probably going from cold to mild, or either from mild to cold, actually. So we'll wait and see where things are going there. Of course, plenty of rainfall to come as well. That continues, I think, to be the main focus of the weather through the final week of November. Definitely looks very, very wet down in Portsmouth. This is going to be exposed to the Atlantic and to the Channel to some degree, so it will be wetter there compared to areas further north and east, but nevertheless it's quite a strong indication of significant rain to come through that last week of November. Possibly not quite so wet through the first week of December, but even then there are plenty of precipitation spikes showing up. Those rainfall spikes do look a little bit ominous, I have to say, for areas that have suffered from flooding. Temperature anomalies from the 23rd to 29th of November, mild on average, looking nice and mild, which is something we haven't seen with these anomaly charts for quite some time, actually. So it is going to be a milder than average final week to November. But precipitation anomalies are looking wetter than average in many parts of the country. Still a bit drier than average in the far north of Scotland, but overall this looks like quite a wet final week to November. I suppose that's as it should be, given how wet this November and this autumn has been. I suppose it's only fitting that we end meteorological autumn and also meteorological November on a relatively wet note. So that's how things are looking with the GFS 6 o'clock run for Sunday. Low pressure is heading in from off the Atlantic, and we're just going to keep these areas of low pressure sweeping in from off the Atlantic through the course of next week. So plenty more rain still to come. Towards the end of next week, we take that low pressure away to the east and possibly start to pull down some slightly colder air from the north. Remember I said around the end of November, just to the start of December, there might be a little bit of a cold snap showing up within the GFS ensembles. Operational GFS run also shows that potential for a cold snap as the winds turn into the north. Excuse me, but that doesn't last very long. And by the time we get to day 10, which is the first day of December, in comes the next area of low pressure from the southwest. Now, there is some quite cold air that will be sitting to the north with this. So we may, during early December, we may start to see battle lines being drawn with weather fronts sort of strung out and marking the boundary between cold air to the north and mild air to the south. That could be something to watch out for the opening days of December, but overall it looks like it's staying unsettled into the beginning of December. Then we start to raise the heights as we get to the 2nd of December. This is within quite a cold ridge though, so that will bring frost type conditions there. Then the high pressure begins to slip away to the south and we start to pull up these much milder winds from the southwest. But we saw within the GFS ensembles that actually this GFS operational run is just about the mildest run within the GFS ensembles at this point towards the end of the first week of December. So I wouldn't necessarily take that too seriously. GEM looks like this. So again, low pressure is coming in from off the Atlantic, and over the weekend into next week, bringing plenty more rain to come with the GEM. Notice it is raising the heights up towards Greenland more than the GFS is showing, however. So towards the second half next week, as we push these low pressures away to the east, we do turn the wind more definitively into the north with the GM. That's a proper cold snap that's sinking down across the country with those northerly winds there in the second half of next week. And up to day 10, actually, the GM does keep us cold with high pressure sitting just to the west of us. Winds are in from the north, so that's a 2 or 3 day cold snap that the GM is showing there up to day 10, 1st of December. Would bring wintry showers to northern and eastern parts of the country, snow showers in the north, of course, wintry showers running down the east coast, and some quite hard overnight frost. That's a wintry start to the winter of 2019-2020. And then the ECMWF looks like that. So low pressure is, again, coming in from off the Atlantic here over weekend and into next week. Deep areas of low pressure. Again, it does have the heights a little bit higher, ECM, towards Greenland. So it's more of a blocking signal with both the GM and the ECMWF2. Into the second half of next week goes colder. As we push that low pressure away, we get a ridge building through the country. That turns us mainly dry, but it would be cold. And that area of high pressure with a risk of overnight frost. And then up to day 10, low pressure back in from off the Atlantic again, bringing a return of very wet conditions for the first day of December. Again, to the north of that low, the air is quite cold. The air is cold to the north of the low, mild to the south of the low, so there will be weather fronts that mark the boundary. And again, don't rule out the chance of a little bit of a battle lines drawn type situation by the time we get to the start of December. But the main feature, much more so than temperature, is rainfall. So this is the rainfall forecast from that, or precipitation forecast from that ECM run. Rain already beginning to get going in the southwest through today and overnight tonight. That's going to spread northwards across much of England, Wales, showering rain pushing north into tomorrow. Turns very wet through Wales, southwestern parts of England as well. And then into Saturday, this wet weather spreads northwards, turning much of England and Wales wet through, of course, Saturday morning. That pushes up to Northern Ireland and Scotland during Saturday afternoon. Notice the southeast not quite as wet, but most places seeing significant rainfall again on Saturday. That gets out of the way for Sunday. Sunday is a slightly drier and quieter day, but only until the end of the day, when more heavy rain is gathering to the southwest, and this bout of wet weather then pushes northwards, crossing England and Wales overnight Sunday and into Monday. Monday could be quite a wet day across much of England and Wales, with outbreaks of rain on and off through much of the day. Tuesday has a little window of drier weather, but then on Wednesday, yes, next low is bringing a further bout of really wet weather. Again, we're focusing on England and Wales for these sort of continuous areas of low pressure. This is very much like the pattern we had through the first half of November. Mainly in the second half next week, it does go a bit dry, but also colder as winds turn into the north, and we get a little bit of a ridge building. But that doesn't last for long, and by the last day of November and into first day of December, here comes the next deluge piling in from off the Atlantic, just more bouts of wet weather. And obviously there will be an increasing risk of local flooding going on here as we move through the last week of November, with all of these spells of rain pushing up from the southwest. That's how we finish day 10 on the 1st of December, with the rain up to northern England and some of Scotland by then. Just the suggestion of a little bit of snow on the leading edge of that wet weather. These are the options that are on the table for day 10 from the ECM ensembles via the Icelandic Met Office. This is getting us to the 1st of December. So we have 16 members of the ECM ensembles with a ridge out to our west going up to Greenland, and a trough of low pressure sort of through the UK and much of Western Europe. That is a cold and unsettled scenario at day 10. Does include the control and the operational ECM run. We have 9 with a trough of low pressure over Scandinavia and a ridge out to the west of the country, a mid-Atlantic ridge going up to Greenland. That's going to be a drier but also quite cold scenario. 9 again with a mid-Atlantic ridge going up to Greenland, trough of low pressure to our sort of east and south. That's going to be unsettled and cold too. Another 9 with blocking around Greenland and low pressure over the country. That's unsettled but not quite as cold. And then 8 with a ridge from Greenland extending down through the UK. That's going to be a drier and probably quite cold and frosty type scenario. looking pretty cold for the first day of December. And then we go to 2 weeks out with the ECM ensembles. This is getting us to the 6th of December. So we have 14 members of the ECM ensembles with a ridge vein to our south-southwest, low pressure up to the north. That's going to be a bit drier and also milder. 13 with a ridge towards Greenland, possibly hinting at it extending through the mid-Atlantic. Low pressure is away to our east. That's cold and unsettled. 10 with high pressure almost centred over top of the country, but the jet stream's a bit further northwards. That could be mild unless there's frost and fog. 7 with high pressure just out to our west, and then another 7 with high pressure to our south, and again probably introducing southwesterly winds. So the eastern ensembles seem to be indicating the chance of something a little bit milder actually as we go through the first week of December, just something a bit milder developing through the first week of December. Let's have a look at Beige Climate Centre before we go. These are 500 millibar heights broken down to 10-day periods. The first 10-day period is going to take us from the 21st to the 30th of November. Looking quite unsettled. Average heights to our west-southwest and blocking to our north as well. So going to be a little bit milder, bringing winds up kind of like from a south to southwesterly direction, but still quite unsettled. Then we go through to the next 10 days, which is the 1st to the 10th of December. Low pressure then is to our north, high pressure is to our southwest, looking rather flat with the westerlies. So a little bit unsettled, particularly to the north, and milder. Winds are coming in from off the Atlantic. Very unsettled for the next 10-day period. This is the 11th to the 20th of December. Deep low pressure to the north of Scotland. High pressure over Spain means that winds are from the west or the southwest. That's unsettled but also potentially mild. And then the final 10-day period, getting us through the Christmas period, of course. It takes us from the 21st of December to the 30th, almost to the end of the year. Shows low pressure below average heights again, covering the UK and much of the North Atlantic. Above average heights are pulling further away from us, though. So this is unsettled, and the jet stream's dipping southwards a little bit, so it's still very unsettled for the final 10 days of December. The only difference is that it could be turning a bit colder as the jet stream possibly begins to line up northwest to southeast as these areas of high pressure, the ridge sort of pulls away both to the west and to the southwest of us. I mean, it would still be very unsettled. That would be the main talking point, would still be very unsettled even to the last 10 days of December. Possibly a year of Christmas floods. Hopefully not, but possibly that could be a scenario. The only difference, though, as I say, is that the jet stream would be allowed to sink southwards as those ridges pull away to the west and to the south. So possibly going a little bit colder as we head in towards the Christmas period. But again, the main talking point would be the unsettled conditions. That's all speculative, but coming back to the more reliable time frame, which is the next week to 10 days, the storyline remains as it has been, which is very unsettled. The deluge is coming back next week. There's going to be several bouts of wet weather, bringing significant rainfall to England and Wales, again, in particular, always less wet for Scotland. Temperatures are lifting up, so it's going to be a bit milder than the last week to 10 days of November, but it's going to be unsettled. Into early December, might be a bit of a cold snap there, sometime around sort of the turn of the month, but December, the first week of it, is perhaps looking a little bit milder, if anything, and still potentially quite unsettled, I would have thought. More on that tomorrow. That's it for today's video. So only one video today. Tomorrow we're going to have JMA Friday, of course. That's the month-end look ahead with the Japanese CFSV2. Have a week to 10-day video update as well tomorrow. And I think we've got a Chris update penciled. I'm sure we have. So the night Chris update tomorrow as well. Right, that's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.